everyone, and welcome back to Cardiac Radio for Teens. For those of you who don't know, I'm Bia, and Cardiac Radio for Teens is a place where teens can come together with other teens and learn together about spiritist teachings and topics that might be an easier way to learn rather than in an adult school-like environment. As you all know by now, we've been getting into the habit of reading the Spirits book every week and going through it piece by piece so we truly understand it, and before we can go and study further in depth, we need to get the basic information, and that's kind of what we're going through right now. Last week, we left off talking about the different levels of spirits and basically the hierarchy of the spirits. Which spirits are on top and which spirits are on bottom. If we think about ancient Egyptian, they always had a hierarchy. They always had a pyramid with the pharaoh on top and the slaves on the bottom. So it's kind of this sort of level, this kind of triangular chart that we're looking at. So we identified that there's 3 different types of spirits per se. If you're putting them in big categories, there's 3 different types. On the lower level, the last level, there's the imperfect spirits. And these are spirits that still are inclined to do evil. So they're still leaning towards doing evil things. And even if sometimes they don't do the good, they're also not doing, even though they're not doing evil, they're also not doing good. So they're in the imperfect, the 3rd level, as a general statement. In the 2nd level, right in the middle, there's the good spirits. So their main goal is to do good, but maybe they're struggling to do it. Maybe they haven't overcome all their challenges, but they really are trying to do good, and they're not as attached to material things. And then on top, on the little point of the pyramid, we have the pure spirits, who have reached the highest degree of purification. And these spirits are spirits such as Jesus, who are so highly evolved, so beyond all of us, but that it's what we're aiming to be, who we're aiming to be, what our goal is to be. And if we think about it like a pyramid, like the food pyramid or the hierarchy pyramid of different societies throughout history, if we think about it like that, the imperfect spirits who are on the bottom, they have the biggest section of the triangle because the bottom is fatter. So there's more imperfect, and as we go up it gets smaller and smaller. So the purest ones, those like Jesus, there's not as many of them, but eventually we're working towards that and our goal is that. But if we are trying to see how many of each, we can see that there's less pure spirits than imperfect, than us learning still. So now where we left off last week is that they split up inside of these 3 main levels. They split it up into 10 overall levels. In the 3rd level, the imperfect spirits, they split it up into 5. In the 2nd level, they split it up into 4 separate little levels. And the first part, the pure spirits, they're just pure spirits, and there's only 1 level for them. So it goes 5, 4, 1 to make a total of 10. So we left off on class 10, but before we continue, as many of you know, this book is formatted in questions, and these questions have been answered by the spirits. So Allan Kardec proposed a question, and the spirits answered, and he wrote in quotations, it's their exact response, so that we know it's from them, not from him. And if he does put in a comment, then it's in a smaller font, so that we know it's his own comment and not directly from the spirits. But for these few questions and these classifications, it wasn't really a question. Kardec didn't ask, oh, what's the 10th level, what's the 9th level? They were just kind of giving information. So these questions don't really have real questions. They're just paragraphs explaining. And we'll just go through the paragraphs and learn from them the same way we do with all the other questions. So let's get to right where we left off, which is question 102, the 10th class. Impure spirits. These are inclined towards evil, and make it the object of all their preoccupation. As spirits, they give unscrupulous advice, incite discord and distrust, and use all sorts of disguises in order to deceive more effectively. They associate with individuals whose character is sufficiently weak to make them yield to their suggestions and to be led into misfortune, and they are pleased at being able to retard these individuals' progress by causing them to succumb to the trials they must undergo. So, if we're looking at the triangle again, these spirits, they're the bottom of the bottom, basically. It doesn't mean that they're going to be stuck there forever, but right now they're really at the bottom. They're doing evil because they want to be evil, and they're getting joy out of picking on weaker people and making them fall into bad paths and seeing them suffer. In their manifestation, these spirits may be recognized by their language. Trivialness and coarseness of expression among spirits, as among humans, is always indicated of moral, if not intellectual, inferiority. Their communications reveal the baseness of their inclination, and if they try to fool us by speaking insensibly, they are unable to maintain rust for very long, and always end up betraying their origin. So here it's saying that an easy way to tell between these kind of spirits and any other spirits is that when they're trying to trick you, when they're trying to tell you that the grass is blue, but at the same time they're laughing, or they'll start going on about something else, so you know that something's wrong and that that's not right. So it's their tone of voice, how they talk, how they can't keep that act going for long. Certain cultures have transformed them into malevolent deities, while others have designed them as demons or evil spirits. So these evil spirits that throughout history, when there have been devils and stuff like that, it's these kind of spirits that they're talking about. Not that they actually look like that, but that's kind of the relationship. During incarnation, they are inclined towards all the vices. They are endangered by vile and disgraced passions, sensuality, cruelty, deceit, hypocrisy, covetousness, sordid greed. They do evil for the pure pleasure of it, most often without reason. Out of hatred for the good, they almost always choose their victims from among honest people. They are the true Scrooges of humanity, no matter what position they occupy, and no veneer of civility can ever cover their dishonest or immorality. So here they use a lot of big complicated words, but basically they're mean. They're not nice. They pick on the good guy. They're not trying to mess with other people that are bad. They're picking on the ones that are good, that are just trying to get by. That they purposely fall into all of these bad vices, cruelty, greed, and they just do evil because they get pleasure out of it. They're happy that they're doing something evil. But although they are this lowest of the low, they still can improve, and they still will improve. So now we move on to question 103, and this goes on to the 9th class. So if we're going from the bottom up, this is the 9th. So it's not all the way at the bottom, but it's almost there. So this is the 10th people who have progressed. They progressed from the 10th to the 9th. 9th class, frivolous spirits. These are ignorant, mischievous, thoughtless, and mocking spirits who meddle in everything and respond to every question with no concern for what is really true. They love causing petty annoyances and little thrills, creating intrigues and misleading people into errors through deceit and mischief. To this class belonging to the spirits commonly designated by the name of hobgoblins, imps, gnomes, and pixies, they are under the subjection of higher order spirits who often use them as we use servants. So these people, while they're not trying to do super bad things, as sensitive as it is, if the last levels, the 10th level, if they're trying to kill a lot of people out of pleasure for it, these people, they're not trying to do anything as drastic as that, but they like to cause little annoyances. They like to be a little annoying. They like to keep pulling at your hair all the time and doing stuff when they're talking. If they are being asked a question, they just say anything, no matter if it's right or wrong. They're not trying to purposely be mean, but they don't care if it's right or wrong what they're saying. They're just saying anything that comes to their head. They're just kind of tricking with people. They're just little tricksters. So while the other ones may have been seen as devils throughout time, these are seen as pixies or gnomes or these little creatures that deceive you. They're not super, super bad, but they're tricky and they're trying to get you in with their tricks. In their communication with people, their language is often spirited and facetious, but almost always without depth. They seize upon human oddities and absurdities, which with they comment on with sarcastic and satire. If they distinguish names, it is more out of mischievousness than wickedness. So again, it's saying that although they say stuff and they're lighthearted and they're talking and they're talking and talking, they don't know what they're saying and it doesn't go very deep. There's no real sentiment and meaning behind it. And they like to just, again, with sarcasm and satire, they're just tricking you, they're just playing with you. Not to be super evil, but just to be tricking around. And then we move on to question 104, which is the 8th class. So this class is called the pseudo-learned spirits. And I looked up what pseudo means, and it means not genuine or shamed. So they're not saying the truth, they're kind of twisting it. And it's a sham, so kind of like a scam, and they're deceiving you. It's not really true what they're saying. The knowledge of these spirits is quite broad, but they think that they know more than they actually do. Since they have made a certain amount of progress in some sense, their language has a serious tone about it that can be deceptive as to their true abilities and enlightenment. However, such is frequently nothing more than a reflection of the prejudice and theoretical ideas they held in their earthly lives. Their language contains a few truths mixed in with the most absurd errors, giving rise to presumption, pride, envy, and stubbornness, from which they have not been able to free themselves yet. So now, since this class, they're even higher, they're thinking, okay, well, we know a lot, we're smart, so they start saying stuff, but they think that they're saying right, and maybe there is a little bit of right mixed in there, but there's certain errors that are big and they stand out. They're not little errors, and that's what catches our attention on the difference. And they still have this pride and envy and stubbornness in them, thinking that, oh, they know so much, and maybe it's not what they learned in the spiritual world, it's what they learned on their earth lives. So their language, although it has some truth in it, it's mixed with errors, and that's what kind of tells them apart, and that's what's still imperfect about them. And then we move on to 105, which is the 7th class. And this we're working from the bottom up. So this is the neutral spirits. These are neither moral enough to do good, nor bad enough to engage in wickedness. Rather, they vacillate between the two. They have not risen themselves above the ordinary human condition regarding either their moral qualities or their intelligence. They are attached to the things of this world and the long of its course for satisfaction. So these people, that they're not bad people, they're not doing anything bad, they're not trying to trick people on purpose, they're not trying to be evil, but they're also not trying to do good. They're saying, okay, well, I didn't say something mean to anyone, but I'm also not going to say anything nice to anyone. So they're not making any progress. They're kind of just standing there. They're not doing anything bad, but they're not doing anything good either. And so these are still behind on their moral qualities because they're like, oh, okay, I'm not going to be mean, but I'm still not going to be nice. So they're lacking those moral qualities and that intelligence. And then 106 is the 6th class. Boisterous and disturbing spirits. Strictly speaking, these spirits do not form a distinct class as to their personal qualities, as they may belong to any of the third-order classes. They frequently make their presence known through perceptible and physical effects, such as raps and movement and abnormal displacement of solid objects, the movement of air, etc. They appear to be more attached to matter than the others, and they are principal agents of instability in the globe's element, whether by acting upon the atmosphere, water, fire, and solid bodies, or the entrails of the earth. One can recognize whenever such phenomena are not due to any fortitude and physical cause, because this is an intentional and intelligent characteristic about them. Although all spirits can produce these phenomena, higher spirits usually leave them to subtler ones, since they are more suitable for material rather than intelligent matter. Thus, when the higher order of spirits deem that manifestation of this type are used, these spirits are their agents. So these spirits, what they said is that they're not classifying them as the next one up. They could be anywhere in the third level, but they're putting this specific class in, saying that these spirits, that they don't exactly talk or try to communicate directly, but they hold on to the material stuff, and that's what they usually communicate by. So when there's phenomenons of noises or stuff moving, that's kind of them still holding on to that matter, and that's their way of communicating. And they say that even sometimes, not saying that it has to be bad spirits that are knocking and doing these stuff to trick people, but sometimes it could be a more intelligent spirit asking this other spirit to do it, because they're more materially attached than the higher up spirits who are more intellectually attached. So these spirits aren't exactly at the top of the third class. They could just be anywhere throughout, but it's a specific thing that we should categorize, that they're more material and with physical effects. So those are the 5 levels between the third big level, so the 5 mini levels between the third big level. And now we'll move on to the second order, which is the good spirits. And we'll move on to question 107, which is the general characteristics. Predominance of spirit over matter. Desire to do good. These spirits' qualities and abilities to do good are in proportion to the degree of advancement they have reached. Some possess scientific knowledge, while others display wisdom and benevolence, and more highly evolved ones combine knowledge with moral qualities. Since they have not yet dematerialized themselves completely, and depending on their class, they still preserve weak or strong traces of their corporeal existence, and might display some of their former eccentricities in their language or habits. If it were not for this, they would be purified spirits. So these spirits, these good spirits, just all in general, we're not splitting them up into little categories yet. These good spirits, they have the desire to do good. So when they're faced with evil and good, they do good. And some of them have scientific knowledge, while others may have just good virtues. They have wisdom, they have benevolence, they treat people right, and also some people might have a combination of the two. But there's only some stuff from their previous lives and from this lives that are still holding them to the corporeal world, that are still materializing them. Still a few things they have to improve, but besides these little few things, they're almost at pure spirit level. They comprehend God and the infinite, and they already enjoy the happiness of the moral upright. In addition, they feel happy when they do good and hinder evil. The love that unites them is a source of ineffable happiness that cannot be affected by envy, remorse, or any other evil passion afflicting imperfect spirits. Nevertheless, these must continue to undergo trials until they reach perfection. So these spirits, they understand God, they understand the infinite, that we're not going to die, that this life on earth is just for a little bit. They understand God and all that He's about, and they feel happy when they do good things, and they don't want to do bad things. And they have evolved from some of these lower level things like envy and remorse, but they also have some little trials that they still must go to perfect their patience, to perfect teaching others, and they still have some trials to go over, but not as drastic ones. As spirits, they encourage good thoughts in people and dissuade them from the path of evil. They also watch over the lives of those who have made themselves worthy, and they neutralize the influence of imperfect spirits on those who do not yield to them. So these spirits, not only do they want them to be good, they want other people to be good, which is another thing that makes them good spirits, because they're not only looking for their own benefit, but for helping all others. So they encourage good thoughts in everyone, and they try to take people away from the path of evil. While some of the evil people were trying to get people to take an evil path, these people are trying to go away from the evil path to try and take a good path. And they see the lives of those who are trying, who are really putting in effort, and they try and help them, and they try and protect them from these evil, imperfect spirits. When incarnated, they are good and benevolent towards others. They do good for its own sake, and they neither allow themselves to be led by pride, selfishness, or ambition, nor they do display hatred, bitterness, envy, or jealousy. So when they're on earth, when they're incarnated, they don't have any of these lower class emotions such as pride and selfishness or hatred or envy. So they're more evolved than that even when on earth. In popular belief, this order includes the spirits called good spirits, guardian spirits, and spirits of benevolence. In times of ignorance and superstition, they were regarded as beneficent deities. So these spirits here can be seen as guardian spirits that they're protecting. They're trying to do good. They're trying to help other people do good. And we may divide this order into 4 principal groups. So now it's the 4 other classes. So we were at 6, 5 up from the bottom, and now this second level starts with the 5th class, which is question 108. 5th class, benevolent spirits. Their dominant quality is kindness. They take pleasure in serving and protecting human beings, but their knowledge is limited. Their progression has occurred more in the moral sense than in the intellectual. So these spirits in the 5th class, the lower of the 2nd class, of the whole 2nd level, they're good spirits. They are kind, they're always helping other people, but though they are developing morally a lot, they have a lot of high moral standards, they haven't evolved intellectually as much, so they're still waiting for that part to catch up. The 4th class, which is question 109. The learned spirits. These are especially distinguished by the extent of their knowledge. They are less concerned with moral issues because they have a greater aptitude for scientific ones, but they only pursue science for its usefulness. These spirits are also free of passions that characterize imperfect spirits. So this 4th class, although they know that, okay, be kind to people and all of that, they're more focused on science, on learning, on being involved, and having more intelligence. So while the other class was more focused on moral senses, this one's more on your knowledge, on your intellectual, and on scientific. But of course they're only using it for good. They're only trying to learn stuff that's good. And these spirits are also free of the little passions like greed and envy that we were talking about before. The 3rd class, question 110. Wise spirits. These are characterized by moral qualities of the highest degree. Even though they do not possess unlimited knowledge, they are endowed with an intellectual capacity that enables them to judge people and things precisely. So this 3rd class, they have moral qualities to the highest degree. So if you think you're always nice, but then everyone has a rough day here and there, so sometimes they can't find it to be nice, or sometimes they're having a rough time to constantly be nice or to always be doing some nice things. But this class, this 3rd class, they have the highest degree of moral qualities. They're always nice. They're always doing morally right things. And even though they don't have unlimited knowledge, they still have so much knowledge, and of course they still have to learn more. but their knowledge is already very advanced, and so is their moral qualities. Question 111. Second class. Higher order spirits. These combine science, wisdom, and goodness. Their language only displays benevolence and is always noble, elevated, and frequently sublime. Their lofty status renders them more than able than the others to impart us on the most correct notions concerning the things of the corporeal world within the limits of the knowledge permitted to us. Their willing communication with those who in good faith seek truth, and those souls are sufficiently freed from earthly connections to enable such understanding. However, they turn from those who are only motivated out of curiosity, or who through influence of matter turn from practicing the good. So this second class, high order spirits, they have this wisdom, they have the science knowledge in it, and they have goodness. They're always kind. And so they are so elevated. If we think about it, they're just the degree from being pure. They're the degree away from being Jesus, basically. So they're always working to help us, to help others, to learn more, and they're always trying to help those and seek good faith. So people who are trying to do good things, they're trying to help those people. And they understand that just because some people may be curious, they're looking for the people who are more really dedicated to learn and helping those people, instead of just the people who are just trying to learn for laughs. When they incarnate on Earth, under exceptional circumstances, they accomplish a mission of progress, display to us the type of perfection to which humankind can aspire in this world. So when on Earth, these people are our true role models. They're the people who we should strive to be, because of course we can't all just be Jesus in one day, but these are our real life models that we should strive every day, and they come to Earth and they leave incredible examples for everyone to follow. So we'll leave off there for today, and next week we'll continue right off on the last top category, the pure spirits, and we'll talk about those specifically next week. But before we leave off today, I'd like to read our message from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone for today's date, January 10th. Day by day. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. Next week, next month, next summer. That's when the good times will come. But right now, we're just trying to get through today, and maybe tomorrow, and with luck, the day after that. Let's not miss our lives while they're happening. We can make choices about what we want to do right this moment. Sure, the garbage still needs to be taken out, and work has to be done. But even in a rush of the everyday, we can take time to appreciate what we have. I'll give myself a few minutes to appreciate a beautiful sunrise, the comfort of my warm bed, the sheer joy of a baby's laugh, or even the pleasure of solitude, whatever my life holds today. So hopefully we can all take that message and what we learned in the Spirits book today and try and elevate ourselves a little bit so that we're not in the lowest of the lowest class of spirits, which I don't think any of us are in that 10th one. But no matter where we are, we're always going to improve, so might as well start improving right now. If at all you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all, feel free to email me at kardecradioforteens@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you right away. I'm Bia, and this is Kardec Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening. This has been Kardec Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.